Kendra, we're here on IME, and we're going to talk about, obviously, you got the business Kendra Scott.
Yes.
And obviously has done wildly successful in what you have built.
Thank you.
And it's extremely impressive from the standpoint of I was reading an article that was saying that you're 96% of your staff is women.
Yep.
And you service other women.
Yes.
And I think it's where you created the sister rule.
The sister rule.
Tell me about it.
You know, we said, I worked in retail.
Okay.
My first job was at a skate shop.
Okay, like ice skate or roller skate?
like skateboarding. And I did not skateboard, but I wanted to be cool and look.
Sure.
So I was like, I could bring fashion. So that was my first fashion job, was at a skate shop. And then I worked at the Gap. I worked for all these different, all through high school. I was always working in retail.
Okay.
And there were so many rules. Like, you'd work at a new company and they'd give you a book that was like this big of all the processes and the return policies and this policy and that policy and blah, blah, blah. And then you have to ask this person for this thing. And then it's just it was a lot. And I just remember being like, this is just so hard. And so when I had the ability to open my own retail company, it's like, this is our customer service policy book. It's 2 words, called the sister rule.
Okay.
So all you need to do is treat our customers like they're your family, like they're your sister or your brother. If your sister had a broken earring, what would you do? You'd fix it. If your sister lost one of her favorite pairs of earrings but had the other one, give her another pair for 50% off.
Right.
And having the power to please the customer in that moment. There's no one you have to go to get permission to do something. You in that moment make a decision, make the best decision you can, and I'm going to support you, versus, well, our policy is, or my manager has to approve that. And so that was really how we thought about customer service, but we took it even further on how we treat each other at Kendra Scott.
Okay.
We treat each other like brothers and sisters. We have each other's back. We root for one another. We support each other during good times and bad times. And I think that kind of family, fashion, philanthropy are our core values at Kendra Scott. That is all about family. And you feel it when you walk in our corporate headquarters. You feel it as a customer when you walk through the doors of a Kendra Scott store. It's part of who we are, and it really is part of the fabric and the DNA of our brand. But it's because my employees call me Mama K.
Right.
Now that they're all having babies, I go, I can't be Grandma K. So I'm Auntie K. I'm Auntie K. But it really is that, and I think. So many times we get companies can just go overboard on policy and procedure and create so much red tape. And you really just sometimes have to keep it real simple. And the simpler is better in most cases.
I love what you're talking about. You dropped a lot of knowledge there. But I'm going to go back to a couple pieces here with you. So one of them is that I love is, you talk about when you're at Gap and other places, right? Then they had this 120-page manual.
Right.
And then you have 2 words. And really you're just talking about putting the customer first and doing what's right on behalf of the customer. You don't have to overcomplicate it, right? Right. But what I want to talk about is, as an owner, because you said as an owner, I get to now go do that.
Yeah.
But as an owner, there's a lot of tough decisions that you have to make, right?
Sure.
And I literally just thought through this one because you were talking about that. So obviously, we just had by accident, nobody's fault, but Ken O'Leary had to cancel.
Yeah.
Morning of the event.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, talking about that, I thought about, to try to just make it somewhat better for the customers, we went and dropped another, I don't know, $70,000 to get Emmett Smith here.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever the number was, and I didn't want to know the number yet.
Well, he's my time period, like Troy Aikman, Emmett Smith,
But it's making those tough decisions and only based off of the customer having a better experience.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times in entrepreneurship, it's one thing to say we'll do it, it's another thing to actually go make that decision and go do it. How have you found in your career, what's helped you make those tough decisions?
Well, first of all, you have to lead by example. And for me, I always lead with my heart first. Okay. And I think sometimes, as women, people think, well, you're too emotional or you're too all. I think it's a superpower.
You use it to your power.
That women have. We have that instinct. We have that motherly instinct. We have that instinct to nurture, right? And so I lead with my heart, and I try to always look for the best in everybody. Okay. So instead of just if something goes wrong, it's like, what did you do? It's the opposite for me. Okay, to explain to me, how can what can we do different? Or let's learn from this. Or what's happening? You have to think of it in a different way, right? And I think it's how I react and how I lead. And people in my company know that before I'm a CEO or chairwoman or designer, I'm a mom first. And I want the other dads and moms in my company to know that I want them to be there for their family first and show up for their family. So I support them in that. And it's all about leading with example. And I think, for me, I always say in our company, connection before transaction.
Right.
I connect with, everyone in our KS family as much as I possibly can. I love spending time in stores. I get on customer service calls. But then, I'm also just connecting with our teams all the time, our retail teams. And, in our stores the same way. I always say if somebody doesn't leave with a yellow bag, but they've left with a smile, you did your job.
Yeah.
Because if you made a connection where they left happier than when they got there,
right.
you've created this, because it will come later,
come back,
right?
Sure.
They'll tell somebody about what a great experience they
right.
had. So I think what you're talking about is really having those moments of being a true connected leader, listening more than you talk.
Right.
Really listening. What is it that you want out of your life, out of your career, and what can I do to help you get there? And then together we have created this vision, not just for the company, but the vision for their life, and then we can create the roadmap to help them go there. And that's how you get this amazing loyalty. This is how you have less turnover, when you really are asking questions like that as a leader.
As leading from your heart.
Leading from my heart.
It's very true, because if you lead from your heart in tough decisions, tough conversations, it makes it easier.
Yes.
Especially because you're going into it that you're honest with yourself. Like you're not even letting negative emotion drive you.
Right.
You're just allowing your heart to lead through this process.
And I think that's so important too as leaders, to show vulnerability.
Yes.
Because there's so much power in vulnerability. My book I just wrote, Born to Shine, I was very vulnerable. I talked a lot about the failures, about the missteps, about the difficulties in my personal life, from marriage to divorce to all the things. Because I want other people to feel like they can be vulnerable. And that's when you're being your most authentic self. And what we're sitting here is I am me. We all have one fingerprint, a unique fingerprint. That's us.
That's
no
you.
one else gets
Your
it, right?
DNA. That's
it's
you.
our story, the good and the bad.
Right.
And so when I've got employees that I'm working with, it's like, it's okay
Yeah.
to not do something exactly perfect or whatever it is. That's okay, because every time that happens, we learn from it.
Right.
And there's tools to grow, and it's part of your journey or my journey. And so, I love when I walked in and I saw the fingerprint. I actually say that in so many of my speeches. I was like, wow, this is amazing. But it's very true. It's
very, very true. It's why we built the show, because it's identifying that you are unique. You are one of one.
Yes.
You're the original mold. And lean into that, because you are different, and that's part of who you are. And so much today in society, we try to follow, because of social media a lot of times, we try to form into something that we're not, because we see this one thing. And it kind of the whole message was like, no, just be you, be authentic to you.
Perfection is a myth.
Yeah, it
right?
is.
It's a total myth. And you're so right. In the world of social media, everyone's out there trying to put this perfect image of themselves, of their family. And it's really just hard, because people think, well, I can't be my authentic self. I can't share that, but that's what makes you strong and resilient and amazing and beautiful. And that's your brand. Me having a first business that failed, me going through divorce and finding true love, me, all of those parts of my life, my stepfather dying of cancer, as hard as that was, my whole philanthropy part of my company was formed because I realized I've got a short time on this earth, man. I want to do something good. So I always tell people, lean into those things. And instead of, being scared to share the hard things or the failures, be proud of them. Because you're standing right here today being you. And you're still fighting. You're still going for it. And so I always like lead and show that as leaders, like show your vulnerability and be open about like, hey man, I messed up too. You know, I remember I used to be so scared to tell people I was a college dropout. I started my first company at 19, and they'd say, well, where'd you go to school? And and I just I could feel the anxiety building and just feeling like they're gonna think I'm not smart enough, or I don't belong in this room because I don't have an MBA from Harvard or whatever. And it took me a while to get to that point where I I have a master's degree in the School of Hard Knocks. Have you heard of it? And I think, but I own that, because I wouldn't be here if I didn't have that exact journey.
Yeah. I love that. I've got unlimited questions for you. I'm going to save them.
Okay.
We're going to go out there. I'll end the last question that we ask everybody is the I am me question. And it's just at the end of it, as entrepreneurs, we're always pushing and striving. You've already built a $1 billion empire. But when it's all said and done and it's all over with, what would be the one word that you would want people to remember Kendra Scott by? What's that one word that you think, remember me as this?
Wow, one word.
One word.
Well, I mean, I think I'm optimistic.
Optimistic.
I'm optimistic. In the darkest of storms, I can always see the silver lining.
Oh, wow.
And I think, one thing I've always tried to be around anyone is that optimistic mindset of no matter where we are or what we're going through, this is a moment in time.
Right, yep.
And we're going to get through it, and we're going to come out on the other side even brighter and happier than we were before.
Yeah.
And so I think if anyone that knows me, we even have cups in my store that says optimism, be an optimist.
Yeah.
That probably sums me up.
There's something so unique about people that have that gift, and I think a lot of it is a gift, because it's like everything could be going wrong, everything is bad, and there's that one person who's like, oh, but what about this one thing? And you're like, what?
Well, I always say no is on in a mirror.
It's true. That's a good one.
I'm like, hey, at least we're just starting a conversation.
Yeah.
Now we're talking at least.
Yeah.
Unless you're my teenage son, then I say no is no. But it's true. I think having that optimistic mindset has helped me do things I would have never dreamed possible. I mean, I have an institute, Entrepreneurial and Leadership Institute at one of the top universities, University of Texas, and I'm a college dropout.
Right.
Now, if that doesn't tell you, be optimistic. I'm a professor. They call me, I teach a class.
Yeah.
So, you have to know that no matter where you come from or what people tell you, if you could just find that optimism inside yourself to overcome it, anything is possible.
I love it. Kendra, I appreciate doing the interview with me. We're going to get back out there.
Perfect.
We got some more
Can't
questions
wait.
for you. We'll dive deeper into it. Thank you, Kendra.
Okay, thank you.